With the basic shelter necessities covered, I moved on to build the main residence. The first step was to obtain earth-moving equipment, which would first be used to create a driveway leading to the build site. This proved challenging and costly. Almost no company was willing to drive hours to deliver the equipment to a remote site. Once delivered, road construction began, clearing brush, rocks and trees, and filling in ditches. Next, gravel was brought in to cover key areas vulnerable to mud. However, the equipment would serve another purpose, as a key design element of the main residence would be a basement. I planned to use the backhoe to excavate a 16-foot by 20-foot area. When completed, the surrounding earth would ensure the temperature of the basement never reached freezing during winter, protecting key utilities such as the water pump, water filters, pressure tank and water heater. It would also protect the battery bank, as performance suffers with extreme cold or heat, as can electronics, such as the solar charge controller. Initially, the plan was to use the backhoe to excavate from ground level. It soon became clear access would be needed to use the front loader to level the bottom of the hole. This ended up maxing out the allotted hours on the machine, and the final excavation ended up shallower than planned. Next, bags of concrete mix were delivered from Home Depot. Ready-mix concrete delivery was possible but exorbitantly expensive due to the over 2 hours of travel time. The problem was the bags of concrete were delivered to the front of the property, not the build site. Each bag ended up needing to be lifted 5 times to create the mix, and there were thousands of pounds worth of concrete bags. Needless to say, the ready mix would have been worth the premium when accounting for all the labor required to position and mix the bags. The first step was to pour the footing. I had a basic drum mixer which proved difficult to work with. Every time the unit was tilted to pour, it would shift out of position, or the electric plug would catch on the handle and disconnect. Later I would upgrade to a tilting drum-style mixer, which proved far more effective. To compensate, a wood platform was constructed to give enough height to pour concrete into the wheelbarrow. A strip of wood blocked the wheels from rolling forward on the pour. To power the mixer, we used a 3000-watt Champion gas generator. This would overheat and shut down if left in direct sunlight for too many hours. The trench for the footing was dug but proved difficult, as it was right on top of a layer of rock. Wood forms were assembled and the rebar laid with a thick plastic lining underneath to help with water retention. Water was a challenge, and we used 55-gallon drums with a 12-volt water transfer pump. Hundreds of gallons of water were needed to mix the concrete, and the pump ended up overheating in the Arizona heat. Getting materials into the hole was difficult. We used a wood plank to slide materials down, including the concrete bags and concrete blocks. Once the concrete was poured, we set the first row of blocks into the footing. The last step was to add vertical rebar every few feet. With the footing complete, it was time to pour the slab. We decided to split the pour into 2 sections due to the workload. Once again, a layer of plastic sheeting and rebar spaced 24 inches was prepared. Concrete bags were lowered and stacked in readiness. Multiple 5-gallon pails were filled and ready to be dumped into the mixer. It takes 3 people to keep the concrete flowing. 1 to keep the water pails full and concrete bags stocked. 1 to mix and fill the wheelbarrow, and 1 to pour and level the concrete. A light broom finish was applied to the surface. It is important to apply a concrete curing agent after the pour agent to prevent rapid water evaporation, reduce cracking and dusting. With the foundation set, it was time for the walls. Nearly 1,000 concrete blocks were needed. Moving the blocks into position took a lot of time, as everything was done by hand. Several pairs of gloves were shredded in the process of moving all the blocks. This time a small trailer was used to help transport the blocks. The corners were set first, allowing each course to easily be built with the aid of a string line. However, the hardest part was simply getting the blocks into position. Using a wood plank to slide the blocks down was surprisingly efficient. The first 5 layers went smoothly when everything was in position. Mixing the mortar to the correct consistency had quite the learning curve, as did using the trowel, and laying block quickly and evenly. The last layer was a bond beam, and would incorporate a layer of horizontal rebar tied to the vertical rebar. After that it was back to restocking the blocks for the next round. Scaffolding was assembled out of wood planks and excess block to allow access to the higher rows of block. For safety, the vertical rebar should be topped with a plastic safety cap. Once the 6 layers were done, we went ahead and filled the cells with concrete to protect the wall against the strain of backfilling. This marked the halfway point of the basement construction. It was especially hard work in the hot Arizona sun, but I learned a lot. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to watch part 2.